Do you know where your thoughts come from? And how do you know if they are really yours? This time we are going to review the theory shown in several Latino YouTube channels dedicated to a series of very interesting mysteries, but where the concern for the MkUltra project stands out. Project that these researchers investigate and adapt to the context of Latino population in the Americas. This adaptation is the hallmark of these channels and leads these researchers to explore theories about mind and behavioral control and the manipulation of people through the culture industry in order to answer what are the sinister reasons behind this control and manipulation of the masses. Based on the testimony of informants from American institutions, the existence of a close link between hip-hop and the control of the masses is affirmed. Beginning with the initial objective of controlling the black population of the United States, this initial objective has been extended to other population groups, among which the Latino people stand out, where it is not hip-hop, but other musical genres which are used as a means for mental domestication. This is the main concern of these researchers, who analyze the main Latin American music industry in recent decades, Trap and Reggaeton. However, the link between MkUltra and this musical style hides a dark secret much more sinister than we can imagine. I'm trying to put you in the worst spot. One cleaner than your church shoes. I don't want to just to hurt you. All that left leave you. None of these toys don't leave you. Need your whole year in a week too. Main bitch out of your league too. Stop it, try to your league too. I'm nothing in it for me. Money like the table, come from never me. All that I really just can't be. There's nothing need to put a baseball on the bay. It's not the money, need to hear it. These researchers have specialized in analyzing the hidden symbology in the audiovisual products of the most popular artists in the Spanish-speaking population. This may seem superficial on the surface, but when we delve into the power behind the backstage of the industry, these researchers show us a much deeper and darker story behind the scenes of the industry. In brief, Trap and Reggaeton, the most popular genres in the Latin American music industry, play a key role in the cognitive domestication and spiritual subjugation of the Latin youth population. Sony Music Entertainment is one of the fundamental pieces of this dark machination, whose main strategy is the mastery in the production of subliminal messages. That is, stimuli whose format is designed to be transmitted below the threshold of our conscious perception. The music industry is full of these messages, which shape the psychology of those who, unawares, consume these products. Figures like Jay Cortez, Daddy Yankee, Shakira, Bad Bunny, Ozuna, Anuel. They would not be mere artists, but the means by which the power elites manage to exercise their domination over the majority of population.
These researchers make a special review of the career of the trap singer Almighty. He represents an illustrative case of an artist who tries to resist the process of mental reformation or brainwashing exercised by the industry. Of course, this singer falls in disgrace at different moments of his life, showing the difficult situation that these artists face when they try to confront this agenda of domination. In this sense, these famous artists are not free, but are trapped in a pact with the power elites and occult forces that maintain them in chains. Since even though Anuel is the son of Jose Gasmey, vice president of Sony, they cannot do much to avoid joining this dark machination from the shadows, which drags them to the use of Masonic, occult, Illuminati, and Satanist symbology. These artists share a common pattern of symbols that make reference to sinister figures. Have you heard about such as Moloch, Baphomet, Baal, and other ancient divinities that celebrate the sacrifice of children? But this is not explicit, but transmitted in a hidden and subliminal way. And at this point, these researchers built on the case of the MkUltra project and brainwashing. This version of the MkUltra case is inspired by the controversial statements of Robert Connors, former worker of the U.S. Department of Defense and in charge of Operation Sedgwick, a government project whose objective since 1989 was the control of the young African American population through hip-hop music. For some researchers, this initial objective has been extended to other population groups, among which the Latino world stands out, where it is not hip-hop but reggaeton and trap music, the means for mental domestication, a specific strategy and advanced stage of the MkUltra project, which is part of a larger global context around the production of a subjectivity adapt to the global system of domination. But to understand this advanced stage of the MkUltra project, one must understand its origins in the Cold War. In 1845, the year of the end of World War II, the United States and the Soviet Union were emerging victorious amidst a world in ruins. The Japanese Empire and its rule in Asia came to an end. Two nuclear bombs not only annihilated hundreds of thousands of inhabitants of the island, but also revealed the new unlimited power of destruction that human beings are capable of wielding. Thus, a new era was inaugurated, where the fate of the next armed conflict between the superpowers would be resolved in atomic warfare. This conflict didn't take too much time to occur a little farther north in Korea, a peninsula that a few months earlier had been ruled for decades by the mighty Japanese Empire. However, aware of the capacity for mutual destruction and the ability to wipe out humanity on planet Earth, the superpowers of the United States and the Soviet Union tried to avoid a disastrous direct confrontation. This meant incorporating the deployment of a series of strategies and tactics, not necessarily military, to dispute the influence over the peninsula, giving rise to a Cold War of low intensity and a new bipolar geopolitics that divide the world between two ideological principles: the freedom of capitalism and the equality of communism. It is in this scenario that, in the 1950s, numerous official reports began to mention that the American soldiers captured in Korea were subjected to brainwashing sessions by the enemy forces, and that some were successfully indoctrinated by the communists.
Thanks, Peter. Now then, Raymond, take this scarf and strangle that Mavoli.
Yes, ma'am.
To the Americans, Mao Zedong's influential army was employing ancient Chinese torture techniques to turn resolute American soldiers into human puppets at the service of communism. The idea of a peasant revolution and the imposition of Marxism through cultural hegemony was at the heart of US national security concerns. And the seizure of power in 1959 by the revolution in Cuba, which brought the communist threat to America's doorsteps, intensified these concerns even further. In response to this expansion of communist influence, not only militarily but also culturally, the Americans react with a series of secret projects designed to train their soldiers and citizens, not only to resist brainwashing techniques, but also to produce it, which were based on a psychological breakdown. This new field of neuropsychological research had very little regulation by the American states, and to this day, there is a controversy about what really happened. Among the most controversial is the MkUltra Mind Control Project, a program of experimentation on human beings conducted by the CIA between 1953 and 1973, which continued the previous Nazi experimentation with certain drugs to evaluate their effect during interrogations. Its director, Donald Cameron, who led these illegal investigations, is well known by those who suffered in Latin America the tortures perpetrated by the soldiers trained in the School of the Americas, a training program that taught the techniques of subjugation and torture created in the MkUltra project, and that after the Cuban Revolution, they played a fundamental role in various US military interventions that were directed to destroy the leftist political movements in Latin America. 30 years after the end of the Soviet Union. For some key informants from the intelligence agencies, these projects of domination and mind control is still ongoing, but not anymore to fight another superpower. Today's mind control is a global project for the total control of the world through the centralization of cultural industry and the media on an unprecedented scale and magnitude. Scientific knowledge about the human being is dramatically more advanced than the naive pseudo-psychological beliefs of the 1970s. And it is this accumulated knowledge which is applied in all areas of control that can be interpreted as a system of manipulation of individual subjectivity through the design and programming of people's desires and drives. In other words, the control of the mind is not done in a coercive way, but through persuasion by means of the education system and a broader cultural system. Although it makes reference to collective behavior, in reality, it is especially focused on the individual scale, specifically in our organic and neurological compensation mechanism that shape our desires and, in the long term, the horizon of our goals and motivations. A fiction of freedom that hides a real subordination. That is why our personal information, the information that we produce, is currently the main source of wealth and power for markets, governments, and institutions of power. Because it is through this information that the individual psychology of people can be hacked, chaining our body and organism to lifestyle and consumption habits designed by the main transnational of this planet, which dispute the right to our information at the cost of trillions of dollars. This prison can exist because of the ignorance of people, to be unaware that there is much more out there than our immediate perception and the ideology of the era that comes with it. At this point, it is important to highlight the metaphysical background that is most relevant for these researchers to communicate: the structure of reality, which is composed of three fundamental components: energy, matter, and information. The human being is organically constrained to perceive only a narrow section of this information, since only a small portion of this energy, matter, and information can function as stimuli that human brain is able to perceive and interpret. As a result, the human species has a partial understanding of reality. The elites are aware of this metaphysical reality, and they take advantage of this human ignorance to foster the cultivation of the ego and superficial desires, both structuring principles of the system of domination for the ultimate purpose of promoting the creation of a personal identity that fits the current ways of life. For these researchers, this dilemma is very important, since from our partial understanding of reality, we can infer a partial construction of our own identity and the meaning of what we are, desire, and seek. For this reason, the idea of the I operates as a straitjacket. It is only a costume, a mask that we learn to use according to social roles and identity guidelines. The powerful know how to manipulate these roles and induce us to play the meaningless game of masks. These researchers call this phenomenon the psychological wall of our identity. Then the question arises, how to escape or free oneself from the system? If the idea of freedom or sense of who we are is a fiction, then is there an escape or not? As it happens to different mystery researchers, this is one of the most difficult dilemmas to answer, but some of them offer us the following reflection on the matter. The mere act of thinking, reflecting, and asking oneself about the possibility of freedom from the system is already a first fundamental step, since one is becoming aware of the existence of the system. For example, knowing about the existence of the MkUltra project and the manipulation of the masses through the cultural industry or the matrix. From this first step, in a general summary, these researchers offer 2 points of reference. On the one hand, the idea of self-realization, and on the other, the spiritual knowledge of ancient cultures. If we return to the idea that reality is composed of energy, matter, and information, it is the latter, information, a dimension that these researchers consider to be fundamental. Energy and information are one. This means selecting energy for our good, which these researchers means immersing ourselves in the information that has been transmitted for the wise humans of the great cultures. In these, it is common to find a system of knowledge oriented towards the inner world in the intangibility of the real, unlike the current paradigm focused on the exterior, the visible, in the power of transformation of materiality through mechanical technique that forgets the power of our thoughts and the ability to manage our consciousness as it is developed in the tradition of the Eastern world. For these researchers, word and thought are information and energy together, with a remarkable power effect on people. Therefore, it's important not to be superficial in its use. Nor should we downplay the relevancy of the content, symbology, and vibratory pattern that we invoke. Now, in the face of the law of attraction, whims do not get anything in reality. What is actually true is that if you have a positive attitude towards the world, it will be perceived as positive. On the other hand, if you have a negative attitude towards it, it will be perceived as negative, since the attitude shapes the perception. Thus, these researchers establishes a difference between the attitude to life and the whim of the secret. The whim of the secret is functional to capitalism because it is ego. There are three kinds of people. The one who feels successful and is a piece of the system. The rebel who fights against the structure of the system. And the one who can transcend this dialectic. The awakened one, who knows that there is an eternal life waiting. Because although these awake recognize that the structures are unjust and imposed by the system, they are also delusional. Thus, it is not worth fighting against them in this mundane world. But what do you think about this last reflection? Is it worth fight against the structures of the system that we consider unjust? Or do we make a greater good to this world through the path of reflection and the cultivation of spirituality? Leave your thoughts in the comments. And if you value this type of content, don't forget to like this video as well as subscribe to the channel.
Me despido y nos vemos en el siguiente Cosmo Reporte.